This Dior tote bag retails for $2,800, but a recent investigation by Italian authorities found that it cost the fashion giant just $57 to make, in quote, sweatshop-like conditions. Authorities also probed Giorgio Armani's factories and found that the company paid $99 for bags that they sold in stores for $1,900. Balenciaga sold this towel skirt, yes, you heard me right, towel skirt, for $925. And they're currently selling an empty chips bag purse for $1,850. They cost nothing to make, but people feel compelled to buy them because they're quote-unquote status symbols. Luxury brands have managed to convince us that these items bearing the names and initials of rich men that we don't know are worth the thousands we pay for them. But why do we feel the need to adorn ourselves with someone else's name or initials? Usually a brand pays a spokesperson to advertise for them, but with these luxury brands, you're also paying them to advertise their name across a purse, blouse, belt, and a number of other clothing and accessories. Luxury brands have moved beyond just selling products. They're selling identities and lifestyles. Luxury influencers are selling you this very fantasy across TikTok, boasting their closets brimming with so many designer purses, shoes, and clothing that you'd think that they were preparing for a Real Housewives reunion. Let's discuss how luxury brands somehow con people into spending insane amounts of money on status symbols and what they don't want you to know about where these products are really coming from. The selling point of luxury brands is that you can show off your social status to the masses. Having money isn't enough, you have to show it. As sociologist Thorstein Veblen once said, in order to gain and to hold the esteem of men, it is not sufficient merely to possess wealth or power. The wealth or power must be put in evidence, for esteem is awarded only on evidence. And social media feeds are filled with countless influencers showing off their designer bag hauls and designer clothing hauls, encouraging you to purchase these items to emulate them. While a lot of influencers do become very rich from their careers, a lot of other influencers are just pretending to be rich with these luxury items to keep up with the Joneses. As women, from the time we're little girls, we're taught to aspire to a life of luxury. We're taught to dream of finding a rich and successful man who'll buy us all of the designer bags and shoes and jewelry and clothing that we could ever dream of, and we'll have our very own Barbie dream house walk-in closet to house them in. From movies to TV shows to social media influencers, the message is clear. Owning luxury items is not only aspirational, but also a marker of status, desirability, and femininity. An early rom-com classic, Breakfast at Tiffany's, was one of the first films that I saw that made me want to even aspire to a life of luxury. In the movie starring Audrey Hepburn, her character, Holly Golightly, is often seen visiting the Tiffany & Co. store, looking at the diamonds and other expensive jewelry as a symbol of stability, happiness, and success. And there was also, of course, Marilyn Monroe's iconic performance of Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes that set the course for women to chase after a life of luxury. In college, it felt like almost every girl that I knew, including myself, had either an Audrey Hepburn poster on their wall in their dorm room or a Marilyn Monroe poster on their wall. The notion of having it all in modern culture often includes not only just having professional success or personal fulfillment, but also material success, manifested through closets full of designer clothes and accessories. Even if you don't desire for a rich man to spoil you with these luxury gifts, you can be a girl boss and buy these products yourself. This is your way to reclaim your independence as a woman who for so long historically has had little financial independence. This isn't, of course, just limited to women. Men wear designer clothes as well because men are largely measured by their financial viability, so their ability to purchase luxury goods shows their power. These luxury brands that are owned by mega rich people want everyday people to want to look like them and aspire to an aesthetic of wealth by purchasing their products. And these luxury brands have long been celebrated for their innovation and high quality designs that set them apart from the run-of-the-mill brands that are more widely accessible. But what if I told you that a large portion of these so-called innovative and cutting-edge designs are actually sourced from areas that are not associated with the European prestige of these luxury fashion houses? What if I told you that these brands maintain their image of exclusivity not through quality alone, but through marketing strategies that create artificial scarcity and social cachet. The consumer is sold a dream, one that offers an illusion of joining the elite. Though in reality, the products are often made with the same efficiency-driven methods as fast fashion. Let's dive into the rich taste and poor ethics of luxury brands. Luxury brands have long been linked to exploitative practices, particularly in resource-rich but economically disadvantaged regions like Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. These areas brimming with diamonds, gold, and other resources are often plundered for the benefit of wealthy fashion houses. British imperialist Cecil Rhodes, who founded De Beers, used diamonds to finance British imperialism and apartheid in South Africa. His manipulation created artificial scarcity, driving up their value. Diamonds were not always seen as essential symbols of love or wealth. It was marketing campaigns by De Beers in the 20th century that turned diamonds into the ultimate symbol of romantic commitment, with slogans like "a diamond is forever" solidifying their place in popular culture. Rhodes's monopolistic control over the diamond trade allowed him to manipulate global markets, convincing consumers that diamonds were in fact rare and therefore valuable. This marketing strategy was so successful that it obscured the fact that diamonds have little intrinsic value and are actually quite abundant in nature. Black South Africans were forced into grueling labor under apartheid laws. Workers were paid meager wages and lived in squalid conditions, while diamonds fueled not only European wealth but systemic oppression. In countries like South Africa, Botswana, and Sierra Leone, diamonds have fueled conflict and exploitation. The blood diamond trade, where diamonds are mined in war zones and sold to finance armed conflict, is one of the most glaring examples of how the luxury industry's thirst for valuable minerals can lead to devastating humanitarian consequences. These diamonds have been linked to forced labor, child labor, and violence. While many luxury brands claim to source conflict-free diamonds, their supply chains are often opaque, and it becomes difficult to trace a diamond's exact origin. The Human Rights Watch reported that many luxury brands either say that they don't know where their diamonds are coming from or fail to ensure that they are conflict-free. Gold, too, fuels luxury goods, particularly in watches and in jewelry. But in countries like Mali and Sudan, miners work in dangerous conditions for minimal pay, and African gold miners are continuing to operate in artisanal or small-scale gold mining sectors where they're exposed to toxic substances like mercury, which is used in the extraction process. The wealth extracted from these operations rarely benefits local communities. Even though efforts like the Kimberley Process Certification Scheme were established to prevent the flow of conflict diamonds or blood diamonds, this system has significant loopholes. The Kimberley process only monitors diamonds used to fund rebel groups, ignoring broader human rights abuses and environmental damage in the diamond trade. Reports from the Human Rights Watch show that diamonds from conflict zones and regions with labor exploitation still enter the market despite this certification process. These resources, once refined and placed into products with prestigious European or American brand names, dramatically increase in value, but the local populations that extract these resources remain impoverished. Luxury brands have also been accused of stealing design patterns from African and indigenous communities without giving credit or sharing in the profit. This TikTok explains it well.
The Louis Vuitton monogram was made in 1896, but parts of it was actually stolen from a Kwili tribal mask. The Louis Vuitton damier bean was stolen from the Cuba chief's formal attire from the Cuba Kingdom in Congo, Africa. The Versace Greca print was also stolen from the Cuba tribe and the Fumban tribe in Cameroon. The Louis Vuitton men's collection in 2012 was inspired by the Masai Shuka, a traditional African blanket cast in colourful shades of red and blue. The design stolen from the Maasai tribe of Kenya and Tanzania. Louis Vuitton also created in 2014 the tribal mask chain wallet.
So the glamour in the marketing of these products detaches the customer from the likely exploitative origins of these materials. It makes it easier for the consumer to disconnect from the environmental costs as well as the human cost. Many of what European luxury brands market as quote-unquote genuine leather comes from the tannery in Nigeria. European Union laws require that products are labeled with the country where the final stage of production happens. This allows brands to get raw leather and other materials from African countries and other poorer countries at the start of production to then go on to produce the final stitching or assembly in Italy or other places in Europe, so their items will have that prestigious Made in Italy label. This is not an endorsement of the leather industry. I don't support it. I'm a vegetarian. vegetarian. I have been for over 10 years because I care deeply about animal welfare and our planet. But it does point to the value that people associate with the Made in Italy label and how poorer countries are exploited in the name of greed. This is why people perceive a lot of African countries and other poorer countries to be so-called underdeveloped, when in reality, they're just overexploited. Luxury brands rely on celebrities to mask these injustices. They want you to look at Rihanna, Kim Kardashian, Kanye West, or any other celebrity wearing their products and dream of looking like them and forget about the exploitation behind them. The luxury goods market is valued at over $2 trillion annually, yet much of this wealth is accumulated through the exploitation of workers in low-wage countries. In addition to sourcing materials from African countries, countries like Bangladesh, China, Vietnam, Pakistan, and Turkey are among the major sources of cheap labor for luxury brands, and many of these workers are paid far below living wages. Even in Europe, these brands don't escape criticism. Investigators found that factories in Italy, some producing Dior bags, force workers to labor under unethical conditions. In some cases, these workers earn as little as €2 per hour. LVMH, Moet, Hennessy, Louis Vuitton, one of the world's largest luxury conglomerates, owning brands such as Louis Vuitton, of course, Dior, Fendi, Bulgari, and many more are notorious for their unethical practices. Milan authorities found that LVMH's Chinese-owned subcontractors based outside of Milan had exploited workers. The investigators found some workers were forced to sleep in the factory to have manpower available round the clock 24 hours a day. Data mapping of electricity consumption showed, quote, seamless day to night production cycles, including during holidays. Manufacturing equipment safety devices had been forcibly removed to allow workers to operate faster, and a number of workers were undocumented and immigrated into Italy to work for them and had no regular contracts. The investigator said, quote, in both cases, the companies may have issued untrue statements about their ethics and social responsibility, in particular with regard to working conditions and compliance with the law by their suppliers. They noted that the companies, quote, emphasize craftsmanship and quality. So this is what you call greenwashing, when a brand portrays this level of social responsibility and claims to be sustainable, but the reality behind the scenes tells a different story. And they go on to say that in order to make certain articles and clothing accessories, the company allegedly used supplies from workshops and factories, employing workers who would receive inadequate wages. In addition, such workers would work in excess of the legal limits and in inadequate health and safety conditions, in contrast with the production excellence levels they pride themselves in. Additionally, LVMH-owned brand Loro Piana, a popular so-called quiet luxury brand, has faced accusations of exploiting indigenous Peruvian communities in the Andes who produce the rare vicuña wool. While the wool is sold in luxury items such as $9,000 sweaters, the workers reportedly receive very little compensation. According to Bloomberg, the indigenous community of the Lucanas that supplied the wool allegedly received only $280 for the equivalent amount of fiber, leaving laborers that herd and shear the wool to work for free. A New York Times investigation found that garment workers in Italy, including those working for LVMH-owned brand Louis Vuitton and Fendi, as well as Max Mara, were paid as little as €2 an hour while working from home, often without contracts and protections like insurance. The concept of labor theory of value states that the value of a commodity is determined by the amount of socially necessary labor required to produce it. However, in a capitalist system, the capitalist, in this case the luxury brand, extracts surplus value from laborers by underpaying them and pocketing the difference as profit, and then marking up the items significantly to make an additional profit. The fashion industry is the second largest polluter in the world as well, second only to oil. LVMH, like many other luxury brands, uses fur, leather, and exotic skins reportedly sourced from regions where environmental regulations are weak or non-existent. The leather industry is one of the leading causes of deforestation, as vast tracts of forests are cleared for cattle ranching. These environmental costs are often hidden from consumers who only see the finished luxury goods on store shelves. LVMH is not alone in its unethical practices, and a lot of fashion publications fail to report on all of these injustices because, wouldn't you know, LVMH and these other luxury fashion houses are some of their biggest advertisers, and they would lose millions of dollars if they told the truth. 54% of the world's biggest fashion brands examined in a 2021 report were implicated in forced labor practices within their supply chain. Major companies such as Kering, which owns Gucci and Alexander McQueen, scored only 41 out of 100, while LVMH scored a dismal 19 out of 100 for their efforts to address forced labor and worker exploitation. Brands like Balenciaga are also another reminder of how unethical these luxury brands can be. One of the most significant scandals was in 2022 when Balenciaga released a holiday ad campaign featuring children holding teddy bears dressed in BDSM-inspired outfits. The photos also included disturbing props like wine glasses and chains, and the campaign, of course, led to massive backlash, with many accusing the brand of sexualizing children. But of course, our bestie Kim K is still their #1 spokesperson. Balenciaga quickly apologized and removed the campaign, but faced widespread criticism for how such an ad could be approved in the first place. They also use rage bait, and I feel like it's honestly like a social experiment at this point, as just a way for the rich to just like poke fun at the poor, because they have these absolutely insane items that are exorbitant prices. In 2017, Balenciaga launched a collection featuring items resembling ordinary office supplies, such as a $2,145 blue tote bag that looks strikingly similar to IKEA's 99-cent shopping bag. In 2022, the brand introduced the Paris sneaker, a $1,850 pair of shoes that looked extremely worn and dirty, because nothing says luxury like mocking the realities of many poor people and sticking an insane price tag on it. Let's talk about a world beyond luxury aesthetics. Some people will say that instead of wanting to just look rich, you should want to be rich, but just not be super conspicuous about it. But I don't think that that's the solution. Being rich without showing it still leads to a lifestyle of overconsumption, no matter which way you slice it. How about we just aspire to a lifestyle where we're just comfortable? Is it controversial to say that I don't want to be rich? I don't aspire to be rich. I don't aspire to have a mansion complete with a big giant pool in the backyard and a private jet to boot. I don't want those things. I don't desire those things because they're terrible for the environment and they're also terrible for humanity. I don't aspire to hoard resources in any capacity. I don't want to look rich and I don't want to be rich. The solution is simple: class consciousness. We need to understand the moral depravity that it takes to hoard billions of dollars while people suffer. We should be aspiring to something much more than being rich or looking rich. We should be aspiring to a lifestyle of comfort, of sustainability, of community. This isn't to say that we shouldn't create financial safety nets and we should be financially irresponsible, but this is to say that we should not be chasing after money. The resolution to looking rich is not being rich and just being modest rich. I don't even know what that means, because if you had to exploit people to make your money, I don't care what you're wearing. Capitalism wants you to work your life away so that you can aspire to one day be able to work yourself up the corporate ladder enough to afford a $3,000 Dior bag. If we start creating a culture where we understand that the top 1% owns 43% of financial wealth, dominates our governmental decision-making, and is controlling and dictating the lives of the 99%, that's the only pathway to liberation. Instead of aspiring to look like them, we will understand that we have to be in opposition to them. This means understanding the plight of the workers who make a luxurious life possible. This is understanding how so-called underdeveloped or third world countries are just overexploited. It's understanding how social currency places a high price tag on the value of a luxury good. This idea of how can I pull up in an Escalade at the party to make people feel differently about me? Or how can I make people feel like I'm so much better than them because I have a Balenciaga outfit on from head to toe? A lot of people, especially people who grow up poor, like to chase after these designer brands because of the trauma response from growing up poor. So they want to emulate and become the rich. But just because you can afford something at a higher price tag doesn't mean that you're better than anyone else, that you worked harder than anyone else, that you're more valuable than anyone else. They try to use visual wealth signifiers to show the world that they've made it. And in rap culture, we constantly see rappers showing you their fancy jewelry and watches. There are some higher priced items that you could buy that will last you the test of time for years and years to come. But with a lot of these luxury brands, you buy that pair of Louis Vuittons to go with that one outfit and you wear it in an IG photo and you never wear it again. We all, of course, need clothing and we all deserve deserve to have clothing that we like. But this fetishism of commodities must end. This fetishization detaches the consumer from the exploitation embedded in the product's creation. Instead of seeing the underpaid workers in Bangladesh or the environmental degradation caused by fur farming, consumers only see the allure of exclusivity and luxury. This process not only perpetuates economic inequality, but it also reinforces the cultural hegemony of the ruling class, which defines value not in terms of human needs, but in terms of wealth and status. Don't fall for this. Most of us are closer to being homeless than we are to being millionaires or billionaires. And yet so many of us yearn for this proximity to power. While the ultra rich exploit workers by underpaying them to sustain their lavish lifestyles, they manipulate your desire for power and status, distracting you with the allure of designer brands. Here's an awesome TikTok that articulates why you shouldn't be in solidarity with the rich.
I want to introduce y'all to a yacht. Super duper nice. Eric Schmidt owns it. I don't know if y'all know who that is or not, but he is the owner of Harbor Freight. I guess what I'm getting at is this boat here is a $300 million yacht, the Infinity, right? If he sold said yacht, which you already know he has other stuff, right? This is not his only asset. But if he sold this boat that's valued at $300 million and gave every single Harbor Freight employee a bonus check for this amount, it'd be almost $11,000 each. And this is what we're trying to fight in classism and warfare inside the United States. The only reason he has this yacht is because he stole the labor of every 28,000 employees that work at Harbor Freight right now. That's how he got this. It's not because he made good business decisions. It's because he underpays his employees, all right? Everyone deserves a living wage. Whether or not he gets to buy an extra mega yacht or a smaller yacht is a different story. And we have to fight this. He's going to pay people as little as possible so he can buy another boat.
We should be having solidarity with our neighbors instead of trying to aspire to be in community with the rich, because most of us will never be rich. I know there's going to be some people who are going to be like, you're just a hater, or whatever ad hominem attack that you can think of today. Labeling someone a hater does not magically erase the facts. Say that one more time. Labeling someone a hater does not erase the facts, okay? Just because you feel like your identity is threatened because someone disagrees with you on any number of topics, calling them a hater, it's rooted in emotional immaturity. Not everyone's gonna like the things that you happen to like. That doesn't make them a hater. As adults, we should all be able to process negative feedback without feeling personally attacked. Around these parts, we like to embrace critical thinking. And if that's not for you, you know where the door is. But for the rest of you who are still here, I would like to thank you so much for watching. I want to end this video with an excerpt from Naomi Klein's book, No Logo, which was released in 1999, but somehow still rings true. And in the book, she says, there is a growing realization among consumers that the true cost of their products is paid not at the cash register, but in sweatshops, environmental degradation, and social inequality. You don't have to throw away every luxury item that you already own. The unfortunate part about capitalism is that it does make us complicit somehow in other people's exploitation. When it comes to luxury brands, because they're luxury, there's definitely an opportunity to divest wherever you can, boycott wherever you can. And quite frankly, I'm sure a lot of my viewers can't even afford half of these ridiculously priced items, so boycotting would not be that difficult. I would love to hear from you all in the comments down below. What are your thoughts on these insanely priced items? Have you ever been the person that has longed to feel accepted and desire to elevate your social status by buying these luxury products? How did that work out for you? I would love to know. But if you like this video, definitely give it a thumbs up. And if you really liked it and you want more content like this, definitely hit that subscribe button. And if you're looking for me outside of YouTube, you can check out my social media platforms down below. My Patreon content is currently on hold, but if you feel so inclined to donate $1.50 to help continue to fund my channel, then I would greatly appreciate that. Other than that, thank you all so much for watching once again, and I'll talk to you all next time.